I mean, if you guys don't give me any questions now, and then later on, you guys are harassing me, like emailing me non-stop, asking me questions and all that. I mean, like, why not? If you have any questions, we just talk about it while everybody is here. This is something that I really, really, I don't understand in that sense. And then I will receive like emails from so many individuals asking me the same kind of questions, which I have to answer again and again through emails, you see. But then when I ask, is there any questions in class with IDP or with your project management assignments? Nobody wants to ask anything. So does that mean that when you email me later, I can actually not answer you? When you email me, I can refuse to answer because I've been asking questions. Is there any questions from anybody who has any problem doing the assignment? I don't believe there's no issues with the assignment. I tell you, if this is the kind of attitude, I will not give any extension. Okay, you don't ask me question next week and then say that okay, I can't finish and I got everything wrong. Your assignment's due date is on the 25th, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. 25th, if I'm not wrong. Okay. So that is just about another 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now. Less than 2 weeks from now, actually. Yeah. About 2 weeks from now. And it's 25%, 25% out of the whole 100% of marks that you'll be getting on. Okay, there's 91 of you, so I don't know what has happened to the rest of the other 100. Okay. Regarding productivity rate, let me see. There's one question here. Regarding productivity rate, is the way of doing it same as assignment one will include labor? For your project assignments, everything, is not only limited to labor, material, machineries. If you have subcontractors that you are allocating in the resources, then you have to be including that into also your resources. And you need to work on the productivity rate of subcontractors as well. Okay, if you have any specialist subcontractors or road contractor, water contractor, or whoever is doing the specialist work for the project, then you will also have to include that. So it's actually everything. It's not only limited to labor, machineries, and materials. Okay, all the resources you need to check. Okay, you need to include all the resources because that is what is expected of you for IDP. So we will be using this one later for you to guide your IDP tool later. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. And also, I remember there was about two person that emailed me, 2 or 3 person that emailed me regarding your IDP. But I couldn't remember, and I was trying to scroll to find your emails, but I couldn't find it. Can you put your name here, whoever has emailed me and I haven't replied you? Can you just put your name in the chat box so that I can go and look for that name in my email and reply you regarding your IDP, okay? Actually, when you ask questions on IDP, you really shouldn't be asking me to check whether your things is correct or not. I mean, like, I don't think I should be checking whether your things are correct or not. It should be questions that is more on whether you have used certain methods to do calculations or you have actually approached it in certain ways, would that be the right way to approach, for example? Not so much of I've done it, take a look kind of thing, you know. I mean, normally I cannot answer questions like that, you know, because if you really are doing it all off and all wrong, you know, it's really a bit hard to comment. It's supposed to be as questions as you move along in the assignments, as you move along in IDP. You know, you are a bit worried about certain approach or certain calculations or certain method that you're not so sure of how to go about doing it. Then we answer you like that. That is how we guide you, you see. So if you are actually showing me, this is my assignment, take a look, you know, I mean, I feel like I'm becoming a correction center kind of thing, you know. And normally we don't really bother to actually answer that because towards the end already, if I actually tell you that everything is wrong, then what are you going to do about it, you know? So not right, you know, in that sense. It's supposed to be questions as you go along. So later on for project management, you don't throw me your whole project and say, can you please check for me, you know? Because otherwise like that, I'll have 60 over assignments to check for everybody. Then I will 60 to 70 assignments to check for everybody. Then I'll be in big trouble, okay? I mean, like I cannot be a correction center that for you to ding dong, anytime you like, ding dong, come check my work, you know, kind of thing. Yeah, it's not supposed to be checking your work, you know. My you're supposed to do your work and I will guide you as we go along. Like, you know, like you're asking me questions like this, okay? Like, you know, this question that somebody was asking me just now, okay? Like she was asking me that, okay, now is it the same way as we approach assignment one? Do we have to include this? Do we need to include that? You know? So it's more like the approach, you know, are you doing it correctly? You see? Yeah. So if you tell me asking me questions like, can you check for me whether my work is correct or not? So how I check for you and I straight give you marks, is it? And then later on you give me a right one and then I'll give you marks again. Cannot be like that. That doesn't make sense, huh? Okay, huh? So I hope you can understand. So people who has been like sort of like asking me to check their work, please be careful with that kind of method that you're approaching super guidance of what supervisors and also your lecturers are supposed to be giving you. We're supposed to be grooming you on the method of doing things, and then from there on you do it. And then if you have any issues, then we will try to help you to sort out those things that you're not so sure. And then after that, you hand it in, and if it's really off, totally off, then we have to mark you accordingly. You know, or if it's not so right, then we will comment. That's how you learn actually. Okay. Um, partially, if let's say, you know, like some people say, okay, I want to look at, can you take a look at my site utilization plan? You know, I plan it off like this, like this, like this. My logic is like this, like this. Then it's better, it's easier for me to guide you that way. Not so much, this is my site plan. Can you take a look? Tell me if I'm wrong. You know, it's not like that, okay? It's not like that. That's not how you approach the whole thing. Okay. Right. So whoever that they email me, can you please put your name in the chat group because I kind of like lost track on who emailed me. And I remember I looked at the email and I haven't replied yet, and I don't remember where those emails are actually. I mean, I have to scroll all the way back in some way, so it's easier for me if I can search for it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you just put your name down. I think whoever is here. Okay, let me have a look at the notes. Let me open my notes. We'll start the class already. Okay, doke. All right. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, doctor.
Can, doctor.
Okay, all right. Okay, so from the recording actually that we posted up for week 12. Week 12 is basically talking about construction contract administrations, whereby we have a lot of different issues that we are actually putting into into the contract, and then the engineers who are, this is purely engineers. I mean, some of you may ask me like, would QS be the one looking after the contract? Not necessarily. I mean, it's a joint effort between the construction team. Sometimes your team has QS, and they are usually looking more into the payment and also into the payment and also into the claims and all that. So that will be more in the QS areas. But you have to manage things like instructions, variation orders, and then also like time, scheduling, work program, quality, testings, insurances, line of communication, and all that. It's all managed by engineers. So it's wrong. It's completely wrong to say that I don't care about contract. It's got nothing to do with me as an engineer. I just pass it to the QS. And you, first, number one, you may not have QS for every job. That's for sure. Okay. Not every job in the industry uses a QS. Okay. And even if you do have a QS on the job, in terms of contract, they're usually more worried about the bills of quantity and also in the area of payment. Okay. Other than that, mostly administration of a contract, meaning that administer, you see the word administer. Administers means that you're actually managing it. You're actually, like how you administer medicine. Like how you, that is how you give medicine. So you have to do it the proper way. So administration basically means that you are actually carrying out all the duties and responsibilities of the work. Okay, that is stated in the contract. Your rights, your obligations, and all that is like how it's stated in the contract. Okay, so it is a very important aspect of engineering actually, and not surprisingly, it's an area that is highly overlooked because of the role of QS in the job. Okay, I'm not saying that QS is not important. I mean, they makes our job a lot easier, especially if you're going to be worried about payment certificate, picking up with quantities, checking out whether how much work is done and all that. So that will actually help a lot. But that is pretty much what they are doing. So you have a bigger role. You are the lead consultants. In any civil work, you are the lead consultants. It's only in building, not structural, building. Structural engineers are also leading consultants, but like bridges and all that, stadiums and all that, I think they are also more on engineers as a lead consultant. It's only like building. Okay, building works is more whereby architect is a lead consultant. Okay, but you will still play a very, very major role. So don't try to talk yourself out of this. Okay, don't try to tell yourself that this is not important. Okay, well, and I've actually posted up a set of notes in week 13 that looks like this. Okay, so here, did I post up this? I think so. Yeah, I think so. So this one here, there is this things on cost plus fixed percentage, cost plus fixed fees, cost plus fixed fee plus profit sharing, cost plus sliding fee. This half bit of the notes on 3.1, okay, on 3.1 is about different type of contract, which I've gone through with you last week. You see, all these on 3 point something, these are all, okay, I think I haven't given you this if I'm not wrong. Yeah, this is additional notes, okay?
I
So,
think not yet.
not yet, huh? This one, huh? Yeah, okay. So this is,
Sorry to interrupt, but what is the meaning of sliding fee in the first picture?
Sliding fees. Sliding fees basically is like according to a certain way of that you know okay, there is like if you have a way of cost plus sliding fees, meaning that if you reach certain target, then you will get a certain percentage. And then if you reach another target, you get another percentage. You need something like this. So let's say if it's a certain if the cost reach certain like 4 million, then you will use like a lower percentage of fees. And then if it's like 3.6, then you use a higher percentage. You know, like let's say 3.6 billion, the cost of project is 3.6 billion, then you use a higher percentage. So it goes down linearly. So this is actually determined by the client and the contractor together, how sort of linear you're going to go, you see. Okay.
So meaning to say if the project reach like during the project construction you reach until a certain amount of cost, then they will give you a
Certain
discount lah, like
percentage.
that.
No, not, but your fees will be based on that percentage.
Okay.
So if let's say your the cost reach 3.6 million, your fees will be 7% off the 3.6 million. So the cost is 3.6 million, the fees is 7% out of that 3.6 million. So if the cost reach 4.4 million, it will be lower, linearly lower. So it's about 4% or something like that. So your sliding fees will be about 4% times by 4.4 million, etc., etc. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So this is actually an the reason why I haven't posted this is because it's actually just additional reading to whatever I've given you already in the notes. I gave you a set of notes, construction administration note 1. Okay, that one. If you want to read more on those that is cost plus, you can use this set of notes later on. So I'll post this set of notes in week 12. Okay. So it goes together with construction administration note 1. Okay. Set note 1. And then this one is just more explanation on the part on cost plus reimbursable. Okay. For you to understand, because there's some examples inside here of how to do the calculations as well. Okay. Right. Okay, and there's another set of notes that I need to dig out. Give me a minute. I think I better go to Elix. I think I've already uploaded that set of notes. Okay, so if you're looking at your week 12, okay, there is a set of notes here, construction contract administration. This bit here, I will add on the other notes that I was showing you just now. That one will complement this set of notes, okay? And this one here, is remember I asked you to do some reading on your own about procurement method, okay? So these are some of the notes that you can use to actually read up on those procurement method, design and build, advantages, disadvantages, concessional contract, build on operate transfer. So these are also something that you can look at it. Okay. So today, after actually we've basically finished on our procurement actually. So from procurement method to contract type to tendering method, tendering procedures, and then to different standard forms of contract and what is in the different standard form of contract and what are the typical issues that you see in a standard form of contract, which is either in the construction contract administration. So all this about formation of the contract, I think it took us about 4 to 5 lectures to actually complete everything. So I think there's a lot of information there, okay, that you can actually go through, okay? Right, so now there's another aspect to a contract. Actually, this is also a general aspect that we need to deal with, okay, in construction. In construction, because there's many people involved, there's many like many parties involved on site, like contractor, they have their own agenda, they have their own issues, they have their own characteristics, they have their own company culture, and client as well also they have their own aim and objective, they have their own motivation, they have their own particular thoughts of what things should be like, and the consultant, of course, their trainings are very different. You know, they're very designed, they don't really care if the work cannot be built. Some of them you know, they don't go so far as to think about constructability, buildability, and whether they may have difficulties in construction later. All I know is I get my structure to hold up, you see. They don't think about whether the river flow may actually affect the working later, or whether the technique that they use can be the design that they put up can actually be built later on. Sometimes we have got people who are operating in that kind of manner. So we have so many parties on site. Dispute is actually something that is quite common in a contract, meaning that there is a conflict, there is a disagreement, and all that. And dispute and disagreement and conflict on site is really common, and that will be managed in the construction contract. Normally, we will get the SO, the superintendent officer, to manage all these relevant conflicts. And conflicts, there are certain method of managing conflicts. Sometimes we will go by the softer method, sometimes we will go by the pushy method, sometimes we will go by the hardcore, like I order you kind of method. You know, so the main thing is we do not want people to actually bicker and have disagreement, and then later on they go to a point that they do not want to carry out their work on site carefully. So you see, so far I haven't used the word dispute, you know. I've been using the lighter word like disagreement, conflicts, you know, arguments, you know, those are things that you really should be able to manage by the engineers on the job or the SO on the job to resolve those issues, you know. Try to make people see the standpoint of everybody. Try not to let it escalate, okay? So there are a point that when your conflict is not well managed and being left to be covered up, you know, and the smelly things all start to come up, then you actually end up having disputes, you see. So disputes are usually very serious. Disputes are actually like a formal disagreement. You will probably write to one another, put it down on paper that you don't agree with certain things, and then you put it down on paper and say that this is your responsibilities, this is you have not fulfilled your side of the agreement and all that. So it can be a very formal, it is normally very formal, it's actually normally very serious, and it's actually people cannot end up having any agreement at all over the particular issue. Okay. Commonly, of course, is things like design issues. You know, we dispute with the client that the work cannot be built. You know, you need to do more testing. You need to use bigger concrete blocks. You need to use bigger anchor blocks, but they refuse to do it. You see, I mean, they refuse to give you the money. You know, I've got people who dispute over piling. You know, the contractor looked at the foundation plan, and then they look at the instructions given by the client and the engineers is they felt like it's so dangerous. It's not supposed to be that way. You know, like for example, it's friction power, and then they take it to power like 1 pound or 2 pounds, and then the design is supposed to be like for 3 pounds, for example, and then it's based on only one PDA test, for example, and you request for more PDA tests, and then they refuse to do it, and you don't want to do it. So then you write in and say that I cannot take responsibilities if you ask me to do it like this. You see, so these are some of the issues that are very common, very technical issues. So you end up stopping the job. You know, like you're not moving forward because you, like one side don't do it unless you give them something, and the other side force the contractor to do it without adding on to anything. You know, so that it can be a money issue, it can be a time-related issue. Time-related issue, of course, is usually dealing with extension of time. You know, there is a delay, and you refuse to give the contractor any extension, so it causes LAD, and then they got really pissed off. They say, I don't want to work like that because it's not my fault that your design comes late. You're not giving me the my right, you know, and then they just discharge like maybe half of the team offsite, and then they only put 1 or 10 people minimum sort of ding dong in there until you are actually willing to negotiate, for example. So there's a lot of these sort of issues, especially time related. Some issues that is not stated in the contract. It is critical activity, and the consultant or the superintendent officer just follow the contract straight and say that I will not give it to you because it's not stated in the contract. Engineering is a very people-oriented kind of thing. A lot of people like to treat it like a very that wood kind of thing. Like you treat engineering construction project like a dead wood, meaning that you move it to left, it goes left, you move it to right, it goes right. And then when it doesn't move, you get really pissed off and you try to kick it really hard kind of thing. But it's not like that, because we're dealing a lot with people. A lot of people, it needs common sense. You don't want to be a smart individual without common sense. You don't want to be you cannot be a good engineer, a good SO without common sense. A lot of things needs to be balanced. It needs to be work out to be a win-win situation. And it's better to have a win-win situation. It is not about who win at the end of the day, and who lost. And I had to make you lost to a point that you really beg me for forgiveness kind of thing. It's not that kind of emotional quarrel that you are going into. And a lot of people like to think of it that way, and they like to treat it that way. So it makes the whole project site very tense, very stressful, and nothing seems to move. And every day you do not want to see the people who come to your site. Like the SO come, you don't welcome him, you don't talk to him. You just want to go and drink coffee somewhere and hide, in a coffee shop somewhere until he goes away kind of thing. So it is actually a very bad project environment if you actually have that kind of thing. So just remember I say this, everything is common sense. Everything is about moving the project forward. Everything is about the good of the project. Everything is about everybody get their rights. The contractor needs to earn. You have to let them earn money. If they don't earn money, why are they putting in the money to support your project? Your payment you don't give payment to the contractor 3-4 months, So who is paying his worker? Who is paying his material? He himself is paying. He is actually helping you to fund your project for you. So he needs to also have profit. This is the mentality that you should have. Client putting so much money for the job, they want to see it properly done. Some client, of course, obviously, they are a bit more we call it more pattern they want their apple, they want their orange, and they want to eat both kind of thing. There are clients like that, but there's some very nice clients who just like, okay, I trust you as a professional, you do whatever you need to do, and I'll just pay whatever money that we agree upon. And but you also need to respect client like that. You don't give them substandard work, you don't give them work that is watered down, you don't give them concrete that is less than what is being stated, and try to earn more money. It has to be fair and square kind of environment. Keep that in mind, because conflict, disagreement, and also arguments, they all started very small. Okay, they all started very small over small issues, and they will build up if you manage them properly, and it will actually escalate into things like today. Okay, so there you can read through this. There are many time, cost, quality, material, potential dispute that can actually happen based on contract. Read up what is time is at large. Time being of the essence means that one or more stipulation as to time are conditioned of other party obligation to continue to perform his own promises. If let's say time is of essence, that means that if you are being given instructions over a certain period of time, if time is of essence and you do not carry out within that time, it is considered as a breach. Okay, time is at large. Normally, when you say time is at large, let's say if there's a delay and the the client can actually deduct your LAD. But when time is at large, it basically means that the obligation to complete within a specified time for completion or certified extended time is lost. Meaning that if the project is declared time is at large, means that there's no more talking about finishing the project on time. These are usually dealing with possession of, also like land issues. If let's say a certain stretch that the client cannot give to the contractor, and he waited and waited until a point that time becomes at large. Meaning, when they declare time is at large, means that all the actual construction contract period, which was in the earlier stages of the project, will be lost. There's no more. So it becomes obligation to just complete. Because you certain procedures.
Sorry to interrupt, Doctor. Your audio is.
Sources of the
Hello, Doctor Tim.
yeah.
Your audio wasn't. Your audio system was a bit problematic. Like your speech
It's
go
problematic.
into.
Huh?
Yeah, it's like somewhere
Okay, hear
somewhere at the last page. Yeah. It's like somewhere at the last page your audio broke down. Yeah. So cannot hear anything now.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me now. I think let me off my fan. Sometimes it's the noises from the fan that is creating a very loud kind of disturbances. Give me a minute. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
A certain email coming in, and it was like, it was so loud to my ears as well. So I think that was where the disturbance are. Okay. All right, so we're talking about these pages here, this particular set of notes here, unit 4, okay? Especially section 4 here, really talks about the different type of potential dispute, okay? So we were talking about time at large. Time at large is basically when the project is actually declared time at large, meaning that the completion time that originally set was actually not effective anymore, and time becomes like an open end. You know, like it can happen when, let's say, you're doing some work in the kampong area, and then suddenly the whole stretch, there's a land issue. The villager do not want to hand over the land, for example, and then they stop you from working. And then these sort of things can actually put time to be at large if the authority, if the client cannot solve the issues as soon as possible. So it's not only about giving extension of time anymore. It's about really the original project time that was set is actually open-ended. And it's usually happen when it comes to site possession, when the client cannot give site possession. So up until 2-3 months later, the site is still cannot be fully given to the contractor. The contractor can declare and write in and say that time is at large, okay? And that is whereby there's no fixed date for completion anymore. So it can only be completed at reasonable time. And there's and this has nothing to do with EOT and all that anymore. This is where there's really a waiver, an open end to the original completion time. So these are some of the issues, you know, defective specifications, LAD, workmanship, time at large, time of essence, you know, what else? LAD. These are all the issues that can actually escalate into dispute. And I would really strongly suggest that you go through this because these are all, when you are managing the contract, when you are administering the contract, if you don't do it properly, these are the issues that will crop out, you know. So at least you can see the consequence of things that is not being properly managed. And here also, I think there is some notes on, you know, JKR, PWD form, Architect Malaysia, CIDB, IEM. So these are all the standard form of contract that are available, written by this authority. These are what I have been talking about as well, standard form of contract. So in all these different standard forms, okay, this one I think to read through for your own general knowledge is really good because it actually tells you that in different standard forms, how is it written to resolve certain dispute, okay? Dispute for claim and dispute for money and dispute for workmanship and all that. So let me see anything else. Okay, so this notes here is another supplement, is actually part and parcel of week 12 and week 13. You know, so week 13 we are focusing on dispute. So now when the situation is, you know, you've got all this situation that potentially cause dispute, you can read this particular set of notes that will show you many areas. This is only some of the examples of where dispute can come from. Like I say, it will be very small things. Like, for example, instructions not being properly given, VO not being properly issued, small things that started off the conflict. And then you end up writing to one another, serving each other with official letters, you know, and sort of like quarreling, you know, like a professional way of quarreling over communications and all that. And then after that, it will escalate into a dispute, okay? And different forms have actually different methods of resolving dispute, okay? Some forms will tell you that, you know, SO is very critical. You must resolve dispute when it happens, and you must do it as soon as possible and not leave it to the end, like not leave it until things are escalated into a situation that are completely out of hands before you actually progress into resolving disputes. Okay, so any questions so far? That is small argument that arrive into big dispute, and big dispute have to be handled first and foremost by the SO in the contract. All the contract will tell you that SO is supposed to be resolving resolving disputes. And then if SO cannot resolve dispute, then we will have to go to a formal dispute resolution method in order to resolve disputes. Okay. Any questions about disputes? Okay. So we have different sources. This particular unit here will tell you there's a lot of different sources for disputes. Okay, and how different standard forms actually cater for them. Okay. And there's a lot of these questions that you can actually, go through, situations that you can actually go through, and then how the application of that particular clauses will come into picture when you are actually when you're trying to administer the dispute resolution for the parties involved. Okay. Like I said, sources of dispute usually from time, cost, quality, workmanship, monetary issues, workmanship issues. A lot of times it's workmanship issues that will escalate into other things, additional work, time dealing with extension of time, not granted, unfair, LAD being charged that is unfair and all that. So these are some of the issues that really happens a lot of time, okay? All the time actually in any contract. Then proceed on for a formal dispute resolution method. Okay. All right. Dispute resolution. Once we come out to this sort of stage, okay, you are actually in very, very big trouble. Okay. Let's go for some of the lightest, softest dispute resolution method. This one here now is not about SO coming in, try to make everybody happy, talk, and resolve the dispute, or look at the contract, what the clause says, and then everybody follow. This is really already escalate, even maybe the site is not working. The relationship is on the point of breaking. So this is like getting a counselor to come in and try to resolve the dispute. And the most gentle way that we have is actually mediation or conciliation. Conciliation and mediation at different parts of the world, they are being used interchangeably. But mediation, let me try to explain to you what mediation is like, okay? Mediation is you are actually engaging a third party, an impartial third party, to actually help you to arrive you arrive at the agreement, okay? So this party does not belong to anybody on site. It has to be engaged separately, and they will look at your documents, look at your cases, and they will talk to the both sides separately together. They'll have a few sessions, and then they will write to say that the suggestion is like this, and why don't you do it like this, for example. So mediation is actually requiring a third party intervention. Okay, and how is that different from conciliation? And conciliation, like I say, American and UK, they use it differently. So places that uses UK systems and places that use US systems are actually defining it the Balik one. The only difference between mediation and conciliation, both are using a third party, both are actually sitting down with the two parties involved, and separately sometimes and sometimes together, to encourage each other to talk and to actually come up with suggestion. Okay, now when it comes back to the point of suggestion, mediation usually will come up with a stronger, like a suggestion. Conciliation, usually they will lead the two parties to arrive at their own situation. I mean, or at their own conclusion, at their own what they want to do. So what they do is they will get each other to talk, okay? Talk and resolve, okay, together. Whereby mediation would be like they will give suggestion, a list of what you can do and try to get you to follow. But none of this is actually a very offensive, like you must follow me as a mediator kind of format to resolve the issues, okay? So, but like I say, in certain part of the world, these two are the terbalik one. Sometimes people say conciliation. If you read some books that says that conciliation is actually giving suggestions, giving the method of resolving the issues, and whereby mediation is actually more on a gentle way, so of getting party to resolve the issues by themselves. So this two is actually, if you write any one of these two, I will not mark you wrong, in that sense, because like I said, different places they use the word differently, so it can be terbalik. So whereby in Malaysia we use mediation as more of the mediator will come up with suggestions and try to get you to follow, and but they, if you don't follow, they don't say that you're wrong. There's no hardcore, I force you to do it my way kind of thing. Okay, so mediation is a very, very gentle, very less offensive method of resolving dispute formally between the two parties, and it's actually suggest in the PAM form and the CIDB form. And if this form is being suggested, if this is closest if you have it in the form, basically means if there's a dispute that cannot be resolved and it goes up to formal dispute resolution method, mediation has to be chosen. You cannot choose others, okay? You cannot have other method unless it's being stated otherwise. Okay, so you have to go and get a mediator. And mediators are usually trained, okay? They are trained. So CIDB is mandatory mediation, whereby PAM is optional mediation. Okay? So is mandatory mediation close enforceable against a party who do not wish to go along with it? Yes, definitely. If it's stated there, then you have to use it. Okay, there's no other way. If you want other way, then it has to be agreeable by the other party as well. Okay. And there is no statutory body to regulate mediator. Definitely, there's no statutory body to regulate mediator. But therefore, whatever that the party when the party refuses the result from the mediation, it's okay. It's okay. There's no enforcement. There's no enforcement. Okay, so it's not enforceable in that sense. But the method of using mediation is enforceable. Okay. Okay, adjudication. Adjudication is becoming very, very popular, especially especially dealing with construction cases. Okay, it is actually statutory in England already. Okay, under the Housing Grants and Construction Regeneration Act, and Malaysia also at the moment we also have a specific act. A specific documents on adjudication. So what does adjudication do? Okay, adjudication is actually a procedures of referring the dispute to a third party who is appointed within a certain time limit. Like for example, an adjudicator can come to your site for this month. Okay, so any dispute that has been previously all stacked up can be resolved within that time period, and they will actually, like I say, go through the same procedures. Their work is actually a lot more heavier than mediator. Mediator is more gentle. Adjudicator will actually put in decision. Okay, they will look at the cases. They will say that okay, you must do it like this and like this. You must do it like this and this and this. So they have a specific decision that is made, and that decision is binding, meaning that the third party must follow. Okay, and if let's say there's continuous dispute, and adjudicators still can come back and try to help. But at the end of the day, if let's say it goes beyond the adjudicator, meaning that the party decided to go for a more heavier, more serious kind of resolution method like arbitration and litigation, then his decision is not final, but it is binding. That means it will be reviewed later on by the adjudicator. So mediator is more like you're giving suggestions. So if you don't follow the suggestion, you will not be really penalized for it in that sense. But if let's say you're going for adjudication, and adjudication is actually recommended, contractual adjudication is actually in PAM, okay? PAM 2006. Okay. Yeah, CPA, that's right. I've been trying to look for the word. So Construction Industry Payment and Adjudication Act 2012, okay, has received royal consent in June 2012. It has been enforced since June 2012. Okay, that CPA, if any of the dispute are going into adjudication, and you're using the service of adjudicator, the work of the adjudicator and the way of resolving dispute are actually all put up in the Adjudication Act 2012. Okay, so this is how you actually use adjudication. Okay, and like I said, adjudicator will come to the site. They will help to resolve the site. Like maybe if the project is actually 24 months, they will come in, let's say, in 3 months. That 3 months, if there's any problems, anything that has to do with the contract and also technical or whatever, they will actually help you to resolve it by giving you some decision. They are like a mini judge that comes to your site to actually help you resolve the issue, give you some decision, and give you some binding kind of not suggestion, really decision. Okay, and then they will give you that particular word SOP for you to follow. So those are adjudicators. They are a lot more serious. They are a lot more heavier than mediation. Okay, any questions so far? So if let's say things are not good, that conflict actually runs really far. Conflicts not managed, and like I said, there's a lot of monkeys in construction. Some people are not being professionals, so they will try to take advantages of the other party, and then it will continue to degenerate. It will get worse and worse to a point that if it's not being resolved immediately, it can blow into a dispute. Okay, like for example, like let's say one example, instructions given verbally ask you to dig out certain concreting work. You've covered it up as a contractor. So you refuse. You say that I asked you to come and take a look during the standing supervision. You didn't come, now you want me to open up. So these are some monkeys at work, like when the contractor asks you to come, you don't come. Okay, and then when you don't come, next day they do it, and then you ask them, you say that they're trying to cheat, and then with no basis of cheating. Like with no proof that they are cheating, you want them to open up. So then they refuse to open up. And then you give them a letter saying that they refuse your instructions, or they actually did not follow your instructions, and you want to terminate the contract. So these are things that will actually get out of hands, and then if let's say the SO do not really start to, or the client send the representative to actually resolve the issues, then you may end up having to needing to go into one of these expensive, they're all very expensive techniques, because they are all involving professional third party to come and help you to resolve those issues. And when you talk about dispute resolution method that I'm showing you here, none of these are actually free one. Okay, they're all expensive. They're all involved third party, they're all involved external people, who are engineers or architect or somebody as well, judges, lawyers, even, okay? And they don't belong to your project, so they're very neutral. Okay, right. So let's say now if adjudication doesn't work, okay, there will be other, you actually use arbitration. Arbitration is a private extraordinary judge, and they are not really judges. Anyone can be trained as an arbitrator. You can go to the Institute of Arbitrators Malaysia, and then you have to go through a sort of examinations and also studies and all that. And totally about 3 years, you can be trained as an arbitrator. An arbitrator, normally the basic requirements is you are a professional yourself, like an engineer, like a PE as an engineer. So because they only recognize professional people, and professional are the one that will deal with professional arbitration in their own areas of work. And arbitration process is like a legal mini court kind of process. It's actually not casual anymore, not a sit down, with you and have a chit chat, not to go to your site and try to work it out with you guys. It's more like you have a location, both parties will send in all the necessary documents and that they have been corresponding with each other. It can be a paperwork only arbitration, meaning that the arbitrator will review all the paperwork and give you an award. Okay, or it can be an arguable. It can be a hearing. A hearing is basically you will engage lawyers. Normally, you engage lawyers, but of course, anybody can actually help you to do the defense. And also, it's like a mini court hearing. So, but it's not done in court. It's actually done in a hotel room, or in Unimaska, or something like that. So then it's a selected, agreed, and arbitrators are agreed by the parties in the job. So they will select an arbitrator from the list of Institute of Arbitrators, and then that arbitrator has nothing to do with the job, and the both of them agree to use that particular arbitrators based on his experiences, based on his recommendation. You can go to IEM and ask him to do suggestion. You can go to PAM and ask him to do suggestion, or you can go to Institute of Arbitrators and ask them for suggestion. And then from there, you pick your arbitrators, and arbitrator will tell you what sort of techniques that is preferred. If it's very technical kind of cases, then they may not involve lawyers, but just to argue it out with expert. You can engage your own expert to argue about the technicality. Or if it's more on the paperwork, then it will only be a paperwork exchange kind of thing. And the more serious one, if it involves technical and legal issues, then they will usually get lawyers to be part of the team. And then there will be arguments, there will be defense, there will be proposal, there will be defense, and there will be a lot of this ding dong going on. And it will last for maybe a few months, and then the arbitrator will go away and write an award. And that award will be punishing people who are wrong, and also paying for the whole arbitration processes, and reimbursing certain money or certain things that has occurred on site if it's found that one party is wrong. So it's actually based on Contract Act, Evidence Act, Civil Law Act, so these are arbitration. And internationally, we will go for international arbitration. I usually prefer if it's an international project. And they may do arbitration. Like let's say there's a China contractor in Malaysia. They may not choose to do arbitration in China or in Malaysia. They may choose Singapore as a place to do the arbitration. Okay, that is usually the case. Southeast Asia, a lot of people will do the arbitration in Singapore. Okay, because they feel like maybe Singapore is a bit more stable and more professional. I don't know. Okay, but arbitration is recommended in JKR 203, PAM 34, and CIDB 47, and I think it's also recommended in IEM form and the Sarawak JKR form as well. So these are the most common dispute resolution method, and which is very, very expensive. But at least it doesn't involve open. It is not public. It's actually a closed, private thing between the arbitrators. I mean, between the arbitrators and the defender and the person who are actually proposing the particular method of dispute resolution. Sorry. Yeah. So then the other issue is the arbitration result is actually binding and is final. Okay. Unless you still want to dispute the arbitrators, and arbitrators can be judges as well. In a lot of cases, if it's a lot of legal issues, they may get judges to be arbitrators. But normally arbitrators are engineering projects. Arbitrators are engineers themselves, or an engineer's lawyer who is trained in law. There are engineers like that. There are a lot of engineers, especially in West Malaysia. They have a double degree kind of thing. Or they may get me like a lecturer, an academician who are actually neutral to come in and do arbitration if I am actually trained. I'm actually trained up to a certain level, but I never finish up my formal arbitrator training. Okay, so I can be an arbitrator, okay, but I must be properly certified first, huh? So as a contract management researcher plus an engineer myself with a PE, I am qualified to be an arbitrator, but I need to go and get certification from the Institute of Arbitrators Malaysia. So like I say, arbitrators are quite flexible in that sense, okay? So, but if you still want to doubt your arbitrators' results, you can go to court, okay? So discourage litigation, persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can, because you don't want to have, you don't want to have lawyers coming in. When there's lawyers coming into everything, when there's court judges, lawyers, and all that coming in, oh dear, your life will be miserable. And lawyers, it's very difficult when you want to get the lawyers to explain to a judge what bending moment, what is shear force diagram. You get what I mean? So that's why if you're going for litigation, you may as well go for arbitration. This is a suing somebody. You're suing. Litigation is going to court. You're actually suing the other party, okay? And then you have to engage with lawyers to actually argue your cases. And you sit down and you have to explain to your lawyers, we have this case because, they didn't pour the concrete properly. And why they didn't pour the concrete properly? What is the consensus? Why didn't they pour the beam? The beam will have to carry load. Then the lawyer will ask you, what is load? And you said it will fail in moments. Then we say, what is moments? Then you have to go and explain like one whole session, all your technicality to the lawyers, And by the way, they're getting a lesson from you. Does not necessarily mean that you want to pay them, You still have to pay them every single minute that they are with you, they're charging you. And litigation obviously is a very win or loss kind of situation. Somebody will win, somebody will lose. And if there is no request for private, media can come and sit in. It's actually accessible. All the cash flows are accessible. So before you know it, your company's name is in the newspaper, on Facebook, it's on Instagram. All the rubbish will come out. All the smelly thing will come out. And then you're not going to do business for the next 5 years, maybe. Okay? So litigation is a very unwanted thing. And of course, dealing with matters that is dealing with civil cases and money, like losses in terms of money and property and all that, The court will take forever to line up to get you to go to court. If it's a murder case, then of course faster lah, but then not life and death one, normally no. The court doesn't even have a hearing, until like maybe 3 or 4 years or even 5 years later. So you have a legal case that's hanging over your head for the next 5 years, and you have to live with that, okay? So here, 5.2, there's a lot of notes here on advantages, disadvantages, and all sorts of reason why you should do arbitration or litigation and all that, okay? So 5.3 is processes and practices, which is really good. So this notes is really good in terms of that, okay? So they will actually tell you the whole process of doing things, okay? So I think, like I said, the mediation process, there is brainstorming. So you can use conciliation and mediation interchangeably. Okay, so mediator, okay, ground rules for mediation, adjudications, how you do it. Okay, so I think especially the advantages and disadvantages part, you guys must go through it. So in exam, maybe there are questions on process of arbitration. What are the advantages and disadvantages of arbitration in terms of resolving a dispute? It can be questions like that, okay, in exam. Or compare litigation with arbitration. What is the advantages and disadvantages of both methods, for example? Okay, so it can be about process. It can be about advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so I think that's about it. Actually, I had to say. Are you guys interested in all this? And anyone want to ask any questions? Anything on chat? No, nothing on chat. Okay. So preferably, none of this method would be utilized lah. I mean, like, why on earth would you want to have a site that actually stops? By the time you go for all this dispute resolution method, basically the site is not working anymore, and you have to have like at least a year or two before any one of these will actually be settled. I mean, mediation and adjudication is a lot faster, but arbitration will sometimes take even 6 months to a year to resolve. And of course, with litigation will take forever sometimes. So it's not really a good choice to even have dispute. But like I say, sources of dispute is inherent there. It's like a DNA built up between all the parties in the project. It is like a coded. Any project is normal to have conflicts, normal to have arguments, because there are people who are monkeys, number one. Number two, there are people who are even gorillas, I would say. And there are people who are not being trying to be funny. And then there are people who are not professionals. And there are people with their own agenda as well. Not to say that they're not professional, but they have their own agenda. So dispute and conflicts are quite common. Okay. But it's the way that you manage it. It's the way that you totally how you resolve it at the earlier stages, and not let the issue carry forward to a point of no return in a way, and then have to go and activate all these high level dispute resolution techniques. Yeah. Any questions? Like, we can have a chit chat, I mean, like, our classes don't have to be like me talking only. Like, that's a point. And all you guys always ask me is, am I doing this correct? Am I right? That's all. Okay. Okay, while people are doing their QR, you can step away your QR code, and I'm free to answer any questions that is regarding assignments and also IDP and also the textbook today. Thursday, we are doing risk management, and next week we're finishing up the last week with engineering economics. I think your exam is on the 2nd of February, and you will be given a take-home exam. I think it's 5 hours, if I'm not wrong, starting from 9 a.m. and finishing up at 12. No, finish up at 2. But you have to start uploading at start uploading from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Second of February, I think, yeah. It's early February lah, for sure. So next week I will also do an examination session with you guys to sort of go through some of the tips and potential exam questions. And I will also post up a practice class questions that you guys can try out and see if you can actually do those questions, and that may help in terms of exams, okay? There is no answer to practice class questions, but if you have any questions, you can always email me to, I won't check your answer, but if you have any questions or how you approach certain questions, then I can actually answer you that, okay? It's the approach.
Doctor, for the exam, will it be a take-home exam like last sem, or will there be any on-camera, like the mid-sem for the test this semester?
It will be take home, like what we did with Constat.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's a 5 hours or 6 hours, but I will set it as the handing in time is 1 hour, so I will not extend any extra time. It's given there already. A lot of you, when I give you 6 hours, you end up just uploading at 5 hours, 55 minutes kind of thing, And then later on come and say, oh, I cannot upload. Yeah. So no camera. You just take home, upload it back onto Ellipse. So it does not mean that you don't have to listen to the lectures. I mean, I think by now everybody already realized that there's a lot of materials. Am I right to say that? A lot of things that you have been learning from this SAM, from my side, from my topic. And then if you think that, you can actually try to manage everything in just 1 week to go through all the recording and notes and all that, you are in for a big, nasty surprise. Okay, so anybody who is IDP, and I know there's some people who email me for IDP, can you put your name in the chat group? And then I will try to look for your name again in the email. The person who emailed me, not the group members, because I forgot who emailed me and I cannot find the person who emailed me. So from my email, so I need to go back and reply the email. So can you please just give me your name on the chat box, okay? Group 3. Okay, NRR people, wait now. Okay, NRR. You don't put your name in the chat group for me to key in your manual attendance. I'm not going to do that, okay? So whoever has been keying in the names in the chat group, the name that you're keying in here, I'm asking for people to key in their name for people who has left me with an email and I haven't replied you yet. Civil 1, anybody who hasn't keyed in? Civil 1, calling Civil 1. Anybody from NRR who hasn't keyed in? Anybody from Civil 3 who hasn't punched in your QR?
6338, Doctor. Astrid.
I am not calling for manual attendance. I'm calling for people who can punch in the QR now.
Okay. Sorry.
QR Civil 3? Anybody with a camera? No? Civil 2? Calling Civil 2, people who are looking at the QR code? Okay, anyone else can not yet, just now haven't managed to punch in? 25, okay, 36. Okay, right, okay, wait one by one. Okay. Civil 1. Siapa needs manual attendance?
Me, Doctor.
Who
61584.
are you? 61584, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Ordering Owen, just now you punching your name in chat group. Do you want manual attendance or not? Okay, I know it. Doesn't want. Okay. Sorry. Where's my manual attendance? Okay. Right. I've off Civil 1 already. All done. Civil QR NRR no need. Okay. Civil 2. Civil 2. Civil 2. Okay. Civil 2. Civil 2. Right. Civil 2. Who needs manual attendance for civil 2?
Me, doctor.
Okay, give the number.
63506. 63506.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you,
Who else?
doctor.
So civil 2? Civil 2, civil 2. Calling civil 2. Who needs manual attendance? Civil 2, civil 2, civil 2, civil 2. Who needs manual attendance? Done. Civil 3. Civil 3. Ashwin, are you from civil 3?
Yes, doctor. Civil 3.
This one, 63338,
Yeah. Thank you, doctor.
Who else?
Doctor,
Civil 3 needs manual attendance. Yeah.
me, doctor.
Thank
63480.
you. 63480. Okay. You guys are so funny, so cute. Me, and then it's like me, who are you? I can't see your face. If I see your face, I also don't know who you are. Okay. Anyone else?
Me, doctor, civil 1.
Huh? Civil 1 again? Where are you just now? Who are you?
Eldren Owen. Eldren.
Just now I asked you, Eldrin, how come you didn't answer me?
My connection.
Huh?
I
Just
lost
now,
my
how come you
connection.
didn't answer me when I do server? Always connection, always connection. All right, Done, Anyone else? No, right?
Me, doktor. Tadi
It's
saya
always about
keluar tadi
connection.
civil tu.
The keluar or you never come to lecture? Huh? Did you come to lecture or not?
Come. Tadi saya
Apa?
keluar tadi.
The keluar tadi. Mengapa saya cakap which group are you?
Civil tu. 63865.
Next time I'm not going to get use all these sort of excuses. Okay, no more. Jangan terkeluar. It's either your line is not good, then you terkeluar or you go to toilet. Always a three similar excuses. Okay, if I really want to be mean, I ask you today, lecture, what is it about? I bet some of you can't even answer me. Okay. All right, any questions? Let me check on Webex. Okay, all right, there is some questions. Good. I love questions. All right. So many names here. Okay, no camera for exam. Yes, no camera for exam. And what this one? Good one. Go toilet again. You see, I knew it. There's somebody who always go toilet on. Okay. Right. When I'm dealing with QR code attendance, I'm not looking at the chat group. So you guys have to talk. So okay, I want to ask regarding IDP. Since we haven't calculate production rate, what method can we use to estimate the labor and machinery rate? This is IDP, okay? Okay. Is there like some kind of rule of thumb such as 30% of the labor? No. Very dangerous, okay? Because why do I say that? Different type of work, different type of like for example, water work can be up to 70% are all material costs, So labor, machineries can be 10%, 15% kind of thing. So there's no rule of thumb. I remember telling you that for IDP, we do not get you to calculate labor machinery rate with production rate. I think this is something that you did not listen, okay, during the class. We are getting you to use what we call an all-out rate. rate method, meaning that you break it down into your work and then you rate the quantity of materials. The rate is times by a rate that is with material, labor, machineries, all up or all in rate. Or you can use what we call a parametric way of estimation, meaning that you take waterworks, for example, you break it down into different components, like maybe the length of pipeline, okay? And then you look at previous projects that are similar. You take the historical data and their length of pipeline, the quantity, and then you project into your project. So then you do it for every part. For IDP1, we have always been calling you to use parametric method or all-up rate method, meaning that the all-up rate is an estimation, is a rate that you have to go and compare from different contractors, and it's a rate that includes everything. Okay, so that is P. Production rate calculation only used in IDP2 and in this project PM assignment. Are we clear? 61584, are you still here?
Yes, clear, Doctor. Thank you.
You are who? Can I know your name?
Isaac. Isaac.
Isaac, okay. Also, Isaac, so you don't use production rate method and there's no rule of thumb. There's no such as a guess. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to use parametric, meaning that you have to break it down into different components like structure, water, drainage, like all the geotech, like different components. You take a different, like let's say, like I said, water, you take length of pipeline. Like drain, you can take meter run of drain, and then from there you take historical data of other project that also has similar project like a coordination work, and then their rate is 500 per meter, for example. So their project is actually, let's say, 2 km of drain, okay? Similar sizes or very similar sizes, or the sizes is different, but you take it as a reference. You need to do factoring up or factoring down, and then you divide by the quantity 2 km, and then yours is actually 3 km, for example, of drain. Okay, then or you can use drain with 2 meter drain, 2 meter versus 2 meter from historical data, 3 meter versus 3 meter from the data, for example. Okay, so it really depends on how detailed. Parametric estimates can be as simple as just 1 meter, But if some of you are more hardworking, some of my drain are open drain, some of my drain are box covered, then some of my drain are 3 meters, some of my drain are 2 meters. But my historical data, some of the drain is actually 2.5 meters. So you have to figure out a way using parametric estimates to actually make that rate logical, you see. So it's okay to actually, you have to explain that logic. So then you can say that, okay, then if it's 2.5 meter, the project cost of 2.5 meter was actually 200,000. And my drain total was 2 km. So 1 meter was how much? You can calculate again. So then your drain, so you say, okay, now, because mine is actually consists of 2 meter and 3 meter, so I'll just use average. So I will take that particular historical data per meter, I will times it by the entire total quantity of drain in my project. So that sort of matching. Or else you can use an all-up rate, like everything inclusive kind of rate, labor, machinery, subcontractor, supervision, profit, everything, one rate. Okay, a very big rate that is estimated, but you need to find that rate from somebody lah. So then your work breakdown inside there, you can use your material quantity times by the all-up rate. But this one has nothing to do with time schedule, has nothing to do with word sequences and all that, because this is just calculation of cost only. this is how we approach preliminary cost calculation. Okay. I hope people who are still here can hear this so that they know what to do. Parametric estimates is also, the notes are also been given to you before. All up rates estimates. We cannot, capital letter, cannot use production rate, which is the real way of calculation, the actual way of calculation. But this one will have a full list of work, sequences of work, and also you will also list down the resources, everything, before you can use the production rate method to calculate. This is production rate method only in IDP2 and your PM project. All right, okay. So anyone else? Just now, those people who email me and I haven't given you a reply on IDP, have you actually put your name down there for me? No? No, this is all asking for QR attendance. Or is it Aisha? Were you the one who actually emailed me and I haven't replied you? No. So you all don't need me to reply anymore. Okay, good luck. I think you're also preparing to hand in your IDP report already. Okay, if there's no more questions, we can call it a day, okay? See you.